Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful place we call Earth. This is your daddy in Dubai sunshine on day 61. That's right. The next chapter is what we're about to capture, right? And we spent 60 days at the Hyatt Regency over there in Healthcare City, Dubai Creek. Muchas gracias to all the people who work there. Um, and I said this on day 60's gratitude. You could call it a gratitude video saying thank you to all those people that have played their part. And you know what? The guys at the Hyatt Regency, they really, really made me feel at home. And I did consider a lot of them to be like my extended family, from the salon to the taxi guy, Hadi, who officially got a trim off me. A young man with desire, wishes, dreams, and you know what? I'm going to do whatever I can to help him facilitate that. Only because when I was 20, I met some amazing people. And Sunshine, look, as you go through life, one of the things that I've learned recently, well, not recently, but I've learned is that everything's on the way. Nothing, nothing at all is in the way ever. Now, some of you may be watching this thinking, well, no, this thing was definitely in the way. And I'm going to say, listen, it doesn't matter what you think, everything's on the way. Nothing is going to last. Everything in the past will is there and designed to either help you grow or to help you know, right? And when you think you know it all, that's when you get humbled. Your body talks to you. Lots of things happen, right, to help you understand where you're, what's the word? Where you're in out of balance, right? If you imagine nothing is good and nothing is bad, but your own viewpoint, your own perception of things will make it one way or the other. And you will experience events and curveballs or things that will bring you into check, right? So if you're really, really happy, and those that are married will know this, right? You've had an amazing day at work. It's been so, so good. You come home and your partner bursts your bubble, brings you back down to earth, right? And there are times when, you're feeling really, really low. You don't want to get out of bed. And the first person you meet wants to bring you up and says, listen, you're amazing, man. I'll tell you who I want to big up, Mr. Dizzy Rascal. Yeah, this is going out to you because you make these videos, right, on Instagram and you're like, you, oi, you. Yeah, yeah, I'm talking to you. You're awesome. Do you know that? You are really, really awesome. And that's the fact, right? You are awesome. So big up Dizzy Rascal for being awesome, mate. You don't have to be awesome. There's loads of rappers and people that have been successful that don't do stuff like that. So big yourself up, Dizzy Rascal, man. You are absolutely awesome. And this is coming from Dizzy Taylor. So yeah, if you don't know that, you're awesome. Do you understand? Sometimes you just need to be told that you are. Because you are, right? If you imagine the human body, the idea of you being born, that it's so ridiculous on the odds of you being born that the fact that you're born, the fact that you get to wake up, you just got to be grateful, right? You got to be grateful that you're here. Be grateful if you haven't found your purpose yet. Be grateful that you can still learn to find out. And if you have found your purpose, congratulations. Because once you have a reason why you want to do something, the universe, God, whatever you want to call him or her, it it will find a way of facilitating it. And I was having this conversation with a new uh, colleague of mine. I won't mention the names, but we're going to be doing some work together. And he said, "Oh, I wish I had the kind of attitude you have." And I said, "Well, it's not something I was born with. Um, and look, there are always going to be reasons why you're going to feel down, but you get what you focus on, right?" And people talk about how to manifest. What if I told you that you are a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week manifesting machine? You don't need to be taught how to do it because you're already doing it. Once you understand how it happens, then you need to get a checkup from the neck up, right? You are a broadcasting machine that creates experiences, right? And then realistically, everything is empty and meaningless until you add meaning to it. And the meaning you add to it will determine how you feel. We can all witness the same event at the same time and all see completely different events, depend based on how we see life, right? I always say that I see life through a different lens to most people. I have Magic Mondays. I have Tuesday where I choose what kind of day I have. I have Wednesday instead of Wednesday. And Wednesday is about winning. And the fact that I wake up every Wednesday, now that's a number one win. Thursday, I call it Thirst Day because you need to be thirsty. You need to be hungry, right? And then Friday is actually Fly Day. And I just added another Super Fly Day to that mix. So today is Super Fly Day. Um, it's extra special because the next chapter has started after 60 days in Dubai, of Daddy in Dubai. We're now on day 61, and we've facilitated a new location. I'm now located downtown. And look, I did a deal, yeah? And as my granddad said in Gujarati, he said, Je bole te na bor vechai, which means the one who speaks up and the one who asks for it is the one who gets it. Okay. And what did I do? I spoke up. I said what was on my mind and I followed through. And again, this whole series was created out of frustration, out of anger, about it was created out of one of the most worst scenarios I could put myself in. If I had to think about a time that I've become the most angriest, that is what created this series right now as we speak. In fact, there's a chapter in my book. It says the worst days will be your best days. In fact, shall we see if we can capture? Where is it? Maybe we'll save that for another day, right? Or no, but the book's here, man. It's always here. Whatever you need will always be there. So, for those of you who don't know, it's this book here, right? Revealing the Times through explicit rhymes. And the name of this channel is Revealing the Times to My Son. So, my sunshine. In fact, look, I might as well just read chapter two, right? This was the second piece that I ever wrote, and it's called Attitude. Attitude is more important than the past, than education, than money and your circumstance. We live each day with a choice, and I've said this before. Do you speak with your true voice? Do your circumstances affect how you speak? Does what people say often make you weak? See, what people say and what people do will often reflect on how you perceive you. Now, the thing to remember is the word perspective. I heard it said once whilst being amongst a selected collective. The story was told in such a way that it made me stand back and only say that today will be the day on which I change the way that I lay and pray and choose the game that I want to play. From this perspective, just a single word can bring a whole new lease of life. How absurd. Now, change is something that is guaranteed. It happens every day at such an immense speed. See, progression, on the other hand, isn't always seen. So let me tell you something on how it's always been. If everything you want is already yours, become aware and present and see the doors. Open your eyes inside the now and you will see the magic and how you hold the keys to every lock. Nothing is missing. It's just you that has a block. Unleash your potential and be here now. And with us all here, let me show you how. If you say what you see and see what you say, there's a big possibility you'll find a new way. Don't be mistaken by this technique. It may sound simple, it may sound weak. By saying what you see, it will show you how the magnificence of life is in there now. By seeing what you say brings home what's true, that your life is what you repeatedly say and do. My question to you is, what have you been saying? Firstly, to yourself and maybe others while playing. What you think, do, and say is no joke. And maybe it's my aim now to provoke a part of you that I may have awoken. The part that needs, the part that has a need to be so much more. A shining light, a pathway, an open door. Where is your passion? Where is your love? Where does your life fit you like a glove? It may be at home while you're cooking. And don't say, I don't love. Just keep looking. Everybody has everything all the time. It just eludes our awareness in the space of our mind. The magic of each side, when you see the magic of each side, then you will see there is nowhere to hide. The gift of life is in the now. Doing what you love is the way how. Where is your passion? Where is your skill? The bigger the why, the bigger the will. The better the questions, the better the life. You may want a new car or even a new wife. It doesn't matter what you want. The key to life is all in choice. Just listen to yourself and hear your voice. It will tell you all you need to know on how you do things and how you grow. What is it that makes you shine? Where is it that you draw the line? It's all about choices. Each and every day, you choose how you live in every single way. Now, that was chapter two of my book, and I remember writing that. Um, it was shortly after I performed my first ever performance of spoken word in Cape Town, verses on Long Street. Nicole did a once a month night. I went to it and I was really inspired. And I said to Nicole, next month I'm going to come. And look, at the time I was a speaker. I did a lot of talks and seminars, and one thing I was not scared of was an audience, right? It didn't matter how big the audience was. I was in it to win it. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a speaker, and I was doing it. And then the idea of speaking poetry in front of an audience just wobbled me. It was something that I was actually like, oh. sugar. I'm a little bit worried about this. And I remember when I did my first performance, 3 days before um, the event, I had to write something, and I wrote the truth. The only the truth shall prevail. And if you haven't heard that, then I'll save it for another. I'll save it for tomorrow, another day. We've done chapter two, right? And so anyway, I did number one. The only the truth shall prevail. I wrote that, and 3 days later, I performed it, and I got all my friends in Cape Town to come and support me because I was nervous, right? I was like, oh my God, I'm going to speak on stage in front and speak poetry. Anyway, I did it, and it was on a Wednesday night, and it was good, and I was happy, and I thought that was it, right? Then what happened? Um, the next day, I was at an Italian place called Primi Piatti in the V&A, and I was having something to eat by myself whilst I was minding my own business. Um, this lady who was serving me, she said, "Excuse me, did you perform at Versus last night?" And her name was Trish, right? And I said, "Yeah, I did." And some of you may know this story. It may be a repeat, but I'm going to say it anyway, right? So whilst I was, when she said, "Look, can I thought you're really good. Can you come and perform at my night?" And I thought, yeah, why not? So this was on a Thursday. I was now performing again on Tuesday, and I this is when I wrote another piece, and this is why it's relevant to today. It's called Attitude. I wrote this piece for that event. And look, in for those of you that don't know Sunshine, um, many years ago there was a thing called apartheid in South Africa where the blacks and the whites were separate, and if you were black or not white, you weren't allowed to do certain things that only the white people could do. And they call that apartheid, right? Which is sounds crazy in this day and age, right? But when I lived out there in South Africa, even though apartheid had finished and it didn't exist, it still existed in a way that I remember saying to my friends, "Oh, why don't we go to that club?" They said, "Oh, that's where all the black people go." And the thing is, coming from the UK, I've got loads of black friends, multicultural friends. And I just found it weird that we couldn't go there. But that was the thing, right? People were segregated back then, and it was almost like they were allowed to mix, but they chose not to. Everyone went into their own places. So when I got asked to come to this event on Tuesday in Rondebosch, there was a bar where there were performance was being done. Turned up, and I was the only non-black person in the whole venue. Everybody was black. And I'm not gonna lie, at the time I was like, oh, wow, feeling the odd one out here. But if you look at my life and who I am, I've always been the odd one out anyway. So she introduced me to the rest of the crew that are going to be performing and introduced me. And then, even though I was a little bit nervous, bearing in mind it's my second ever poetry performance, she said, "Oh, Dizzy, can you open up the show?" And I was like, "Yeah." Anyway, so I performed my second piece, Attitude, which one I just read out just earlier. And then I did it and it was okay. Um, but I wasn't that happy with the performance. So after the first half had finished, I volunteered to open up the second half because I wasn't 100% happy with how I dropped it. I didn't feel like I dropped it hot enough, bad enough within as much, even though it was my only my second performance. I was criticizing my own performance. Anyway, so I performed the truth um on opening the second half, and it was great. Anyway, shortly after that, I got talking to another guy. I think his name was Patrick, and he said, "Dizzy, I think you're really good. Would you do you fancy coming on Channel O in Johannesburg? And Channel O was the music channel for Africa. So, bearing in mind my third performance, it was funny. My friend Manmeet, she came out to visit me in South Africa. She flew out to Cape Town, and the week that she arrived, I said, "Listen, we need to fly to Johannesburg." She's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, we're going to go to Johannesburg, and I'm going to perform my poetry on a show that's going to be televised on Channel O." So, bearing in mind my third ever performance was on Channel O, live, recorded on a poetry show. Um, and what does that tell you, right? Sometimes when you are in your flow, when you're doing what you're supposed to do in life, it will take you there so very fast, right? So 18, 19, 20 years later, here we are in Dubai, dropping it like it's hot. The book is my gift to other people that I connect with to give them a lift. And look, it's something I wrote from the bottom of my heart. And when I meet somebody on the street, wherever it is, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, however you are, it it allows me to connect with that person and give them something that's from the bottom of my heart to that individual. And look, the whatever I said earlier, how much of that resonated with you, just that one line. Um, you hold the keys to every lock. Nothing is missing. It's just you that has a block. Imagine you hold the keys to every lock. Anything that you want in your life, you have the keys to it already. What if you could do anything you wanted? What would you do? I'm talking to you and you and you and you. And that's a chapter about what is it that you do. I know, Sunshine, you've got your guidance. You have the ability to do as you wish. But I know after we spoke the other day, remember when you had something in your throat and we read something out? So for those of you that don't know, right, there's this book, right? Your body is talking. Are you listening, right? Now imagine everything that goes on in your life, every ailment. What if that ailment, that illness, whatever it is that had gone on was something that was connected to your life? I remember the other morning, this little pinky finger became was numb when I woke up. And part of me was like, it's probably some circulation issue. And then another voice said, go on, have a look in the book, mate. Have a look in the book. And you're not going to believe this. Whatever it said in the book related to the conversation I had with my parents the night before. And it specifically said my parents in the book. And I was like, geez, Louise. So maybe I need to get Dr. Yvette Rose on the call at some point. Maybe I'll email her. So look, this is an idea that just came to my mind right now. And if you are watching this, do not be surprised if she is a guest on my show on Daddy in Dubai. Why? Because I just made a decision that it would be nice for me to do it, right? It won't be a coincidence if it happens. Someone once said to me, Dizzy, you know what the best way to predict the future is? Create it. Create what you want to do. Create your future. I said to you, Sunshine, this is what I want to do. And I'm doing it. I'm living proof that you can be, do, and have whatever it is you want in life. But the key to getting it is the word or the letter why. Why do you want it? But that's going to be another series. It's going to be another episode. And I've got a feeling we're going to feature some young boys that came up to me in the mall. Um, I think it's time for them now. Um, yeah. So listen, Sunshine, I hope you made it to where you're going. And look, it doesn't matter when you watch this. I know you have not seen many of them so far, but listen, these are not created for now. These are created forever. This is my legacy that I will then influence your life for years and years and years and years to come, regardless of whether I'm here in physical format or not. So, Sunshine, love you to the moon and back. See you on episode day 62. Unless something else more epic happens today, and I think, wow, you know what? We never know. There are guests and people lined up. There is an angel by the name of Valerie. She's scheduled to come on at some point. And look, she played her role only a few days ago. She played a role a few years ago, and no doubt she's going to play a role in the future because she has stuff to share too. An angel sent from heaven. So, with that in mind, stay happy, stay focused, and remember what you're focused on. Yeah, you are awesome.